Hey guys, wanted to give you a quick update on my life here. I moved to Colorado and just kind of share some things that have been on my heart and kind of just been seeking the Lord for a few months, just on what this season is and what He wants to do in my heart, kind of the context. It helps me to know the context of what He wants to accomplish in a season, so that I'm not wearing winter clothes in summertime. I want to be one that discerns the season that I'm in. And so back in when I was in California, just really praying, I felt like the Lord put it on my heart that it was halftime for me. And for those of you that have been following me for a while, you know, back in 2020, the Lord had a pretty radical transition in my life where I went from a ministry doing a lot of outreach into full-time prayer, intercessory ministry. And it really is the call to the wilderness. And I just feel like the Lord's been just expounding on this, and He's like, hey Josh, I pulled you out of that for a halftime to kind of see what worked in the last season, and then moving into these next 4 years. So basically I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I got 4 more years left on my contract, because the prayer in 2020 was when my whole life blew up. It was, God, I know you've called me to be a messenger, a preacher of the gospel. How do you want me to go about preparing for that? And He spoke to me about giving my 20s to the ministry of prayer, and in the place of hiddenness, and doing it with people while being discipled and discipling others. It's the place that's not full of glory. It's not full of, it really is, when you get down to it, really spending time with Jesus is really the ultimate goal, And so, but anyway, I just feel like that's been the theme. He just says, hey, these last, few months in California, were really just this halftime of just reflecting on these last 4 years, and then looking forward to these next 4 years. And so since I've been here, man, the Lord has been rocking me. I have just been tears, just overwhelmed by His kindness towards me, and just all the faithfulness, all these years of following Him, and I'm still here. It's a miracle. It really is. And so super grateful. It's cool. I get to, I'm rooming with a bunch of 20-year-olds, 18, 20-year-olds. And so a lot of excitement around the house. And there's 7 of us in a 4-bedroom house. I'm sharing a room with an 18-year-old, and he's just awesome. His name's David. And so anyway, yeah, just loving it. I'm loving the prayer room at House Church in Denver. God's just been rocking to me. But I feel like what I wanted to share, what He's really put on my heart lately is that parable. I believe it's Matthew 7 and Luke 6, where God talks about the man that builds his house, that takes time to dig deep and builds his house on the rock, that later on in his life, when the floodwaters come, when the winds come, because he was a man that built his house, his foundation. And when he's talking about house, He's talking about your internal life. He's talking about your inner man. Like, well, what did you build with? Did you build your interior life around all the things you had, placing your identity in wealth, material things, who you marry, all those things? Your ministry is a huge one in Christianity. Did you build your house on what you could do for the Lord? Or did you build your house, would you build your interior life on the simple fact and the deep fact that I am loved by God? That I'm loved by God, and where He comes and He deposits revelation, He deposits the knowledge of God. I believe in the day of chaos, the highest commodity on the earth will be the knowledge of God. Those that know God, those that have understanding, real breathing understanding of the scriptures, not just a bunch of head knowledge with a theology degree. There's nothing wrong with a theology degree, but those who have labored in the place of prayer, fasting, intercession, those that have wrestled with God like Jacob, those who are friends with God in the wilderness, in that place of Gethsemane where He goes to His disciples and He says, will you watch? Will you tarry with me just 1 hour? I believe God's looking throughout the earth, looking for friends that will tarry with Him in the place of suffering, in the place of when it's hard. And, it talks about the parable where it talks about the true shepherd, how a hired hand, when the wolf comes, runs because the sheep aren't his. But a shepherd will stand in that place of intercession and say, not on my watch. And he'll actually lay down his life for the sake of the sheep. And so I just believe these deep truths are getting in my spirit, in my inner man. And it's all this time of preparation. And sometimes I don't like to use that term preparation because it's kind of it's a means to an end, when really this is the goal, is the knowledge of God. I don't think this will ever stop in my life. And then the cool thing is I'm getting to walk with these 18, 20-year-olds, and I just feel like so privileged. Like it's just like I get to live side by side with these guys and just pour into them, learn from them. They're teaching me things. I heard this preacher say, the very people group you feel called to, you need to go spend time with them. And so I personally feel called to the next generation, and standing in the gap for the next generation and the breakthrough of God, and ultimately revival to touch this generation. That it would be another Jesus people movement like it was in the late 60s, early 70s. I just burn for revival. I burn to see God's Spirit poured out, and we need it. And so anyway, that's just a little bit of what's going on here in Colorado. It's kind of the same thing that I've been doing. It's laboring in prayer, and it's not super glamorous. There's not a whole lot of sparkles to it, but it is a labor. And I just wanted to communicate to those of you that support me and my friends and family that I'm doing good, that God is continuing to reveal himself to me, and I'm staying to the assignment. I am not turning away from it. It's crazy because I wanted to tell you about this thing that a spiritual mom told me. It was a dream she had. And she says she was walking down a hallway. Imagine a hallway, hotels, so there's rooms on either side. She's walking down the hallway, and all these doors start to open for her. And each of the doors represented ministry opportunities or relationships and da-da-da-da. And as she kept moving towards down the hallway, all these doors opened, and she just keeps moving. And the further down the hallway she gets, the darker it gets, the lonelier it gets. But she noticed at the end of the hallway there was this door. And she got to that, and it was lonely and it was dark, but I believe she put her ear up to the door, and all she heard was a heartbeat. She opened the door, and it was God. It was the weeping room with God. And I just believe the same way that the devil tempted Jesus. He says, I can give you all these kingdoms. But Jesus knew it wasn't his time yet. He knew he already had all those kingdoms. And I just find that on this walk with the Lord, the temptation that comes is I start get these opportunities to go be this and a leader here and do this, and it's tempting to feel like, oh man, I deserve some notoriety, I deserve some whatever you call it, but I just feel that wooing on the inside of me to keep coming deeper. It's, oh, the depths will you come, the deep cries out to the deep. And I just want to keep building. I want to keep digging deep wells, so that when it does come where God would have me lead, in whatever capacity he has, or when God would, just give me what he's promised, I just want to be able to sustain it. We're seeing so many leaders right now fall to scandal, and I believe the devil will let us get to our pinnacle of what we call success in ministry. I believe we have a totally wrong idea of what that means, but he'll let us do that, and then he'll expose us. We're seeing that right now. So many ministers are being exposed, and it's actually like we're seeing so many lives just in Texas alone in the last, however long it's been. 150,000 people were touched by 3 main huge pastors that got exposed and that ultimately fell from sexual scandal. And I have the fear of the Lord over these years. So many of us go to a ministry school for 3 months or 9 months, and I just feel like the Lord's like, no, you need to give yourself to this for years and years, and it could be decades. I don't know, but there's the bigger the house, the bigger the foundation, the deeper the foundation has to be. Same with a tree, the deeper the root system has to go. And so I just want to, as for me and my house, man, I want to go deep in the scriptures. I want to go deep in the revelation of Jesus. And yeah, so that's where I'm at, guys. I super love you. Again, it's not super glamorous. There's not a whole lot to, but it's just that place of the wilderness with Jesus, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And so, yeah, that's me. Colorado's amazing, super beautiful out here. Yeah, the mountains are great. So anyway, guys, that is my update. Love you guys, and we'll talk soon.